Good evening, guys. Welcome to the Roxy Files. Shannon will be with us momentarily. She is literally running in her house at the moment, trying to get up to the studio. Hope everyone's doing good this evening. We'll give it a couple of minutes and let Shannon get here and let everybody else get in the room. How's everybody doing today? Hey, Carol, I didn't miss you tonight. Hey, Anonymous, as always. Hello, Mike. Thank you for being here. Hope everyone's doing good. And Shannon is in the house. Ta da! There's Shannon.
Whew.
I told him you were literally like when I hit the go live button, you were running in the house trying to get to the.
literally.
It's been
Well,
one of those days.
kind of half gimping, me and my cane.
Doesn't matter. Running's running. It doesn't matter what it looks like when you do it.
Well,
you
some styles are more entertaining than others, and I might be in
you
that
should see
category.
mine. You should see mine. 5-foot woman. And I don't think I ever want to film myself running and see it. I would probably be too embarrassed by it. I've seen some of those videos, considering that. Have you seen the ones where it's like, a family member and somebody's a cop and they're like chasing somebody and they film them to see how they look running? I'm not doing that.
Oh
Just
no,
saying.
I have not seen those.
Yes, the
Although
Lord has
it does
blessed
sound
us with another day. Anonymous. We very thankful that got woke up this morning by the big man upstairs and had nightmares most of the night, but when I did wake up I was really thankful to be awake. It was one of those crazy ones last night.
Oh wow.
I've never had a dream like this, Shannon. It seemed like the dream itself could have only taken seconds, but there was so much trauma and anxiety in it. It went from my truck had been stolen to I couldn't find my daughter and my granddaughter because she had walked her into school. My grandson had come out to me, but then I hear that there was a papow happening at that school, and it was just chaos from there. And when I woke up, it was one of those where you're waking up in a, you can't breathe because you're so freaked out. I don't have those very often.
Well, in my experience, a lot of the times those kinds of dreams are warning you of things to come. It may not always be spot on, and sometimes it is. So,
Well, see, in my dream, my truck had been somebody had taken it and wrecked it. And my truck is very important to me. I'm not a car girl, everybody. I drive a quad cab Z71 Chevrolet. I like a big old truck, gas hog. But if I want to haul something, I can haul something. And what woke me up was my mom calling me to tell me that my sister had just been in a fender bender, which
hmm.
was kind of crazy to me. And I actually had a doctor's appointment. I called and rescheduled my doctor's appointment. I wasn't getting on the highway. It was just too much for me. A dream like that and then a call like that, I'm like, nope, not today.
Yep, that's exactly it. See, you were listening, and
I was
that was the point.
listening.
hmm
I had the shock of my life. The new house, they come back with the quote for the new heating and air unit. Just the unit outside. $11,000.
Oh, what the French toast?
Thank God I rent and don't own it because I ain't got to pay for it. Yeah, I got to call around tomorrow and try to help him get some new quotes. But anyway, me and Shannon haven't talked all day. Can y'all tell we haven't caught up? Hello
Yes.
and welcome, everyone. Um, we're going to continue our normal Tuesday night conversation. We just kind of seem to be in this mode about bloodlines and RH negative and gate programs and telepathy. I don't know. I seem to be led there a lot. Today, I found out something new about RH negative blood, which blowed my mind.
What's that?
It glows blue.
Hmm.
Like they tested all of the different types of blood. RH negative is the only one that reacts to sound frequencies, particular frequencies like it does. And when they do up under the ultraviolet light, it has this electric blue flash to it that
Hmm,
is in time with the frequency.
interesting.
Yep, so that's a new one we can add to the list, guys. So and so then that took me down the rabbit hole as it usually does of where did it come from? Like where did RH negative come from? And when you think about RH, you got RH negative or you got RH positive. It means it does or it does not have a D antigen on the exterior of the red blood cell. So was something taken away from everybody else or from, how should I say that? Was something taken from us or was something given to everybody else? Because there's only a few of us out there. There's only one blood type rarer than mine, and I think it's that RH null. And there's only like 50 people in the world with that. They call it the golden blood. You ever heard of that one? Shannon?
Hold on. Sorry. Yes, I have.
My good Lord, you already put her to sleep. That was fast.
No. So I did mention I just got home, so had a dog situation. Just hold one moment, please.
Tinfoil, Governor, tinfoil. One of the things I started looking at because there's all kind of theories of where, hey, Flatjacks, hey, Miss Terry, Mr. Terry, not sure which one that is. Um, when I get down, because I don't know, I'm RH negative, and I've always felt like an oddball, I never, not oddball, maybe I just didn't fit in. I didn't, and maybe that was a whole normie thing, but I've always been curious as to why are there so few of us? Why we have the genetic, physical traits that we have, the things that happen to us, and all of us seem to have very, very similar things. And we've gone over them before that most of us have an extra vertebrae or an extra rib. Our body temperature really normally is in the 97, 97 and a half marker field. A lot of us tend to be magnesium and potassium deficient most of the time. What are some of the other things? Eye color. They're usually blue or green, like a hexachromium. And I mean, there's all kind of weird, unique, maybe I should say, traits with only 15% of the world's population having it, and the majority of them living in one spot, and they always have with their own language. It's unique. I mean, that's not something that happens every day. Those just happen to be mountain people in the Basque region in the Pyrenees Mountains. So then I'm like, okay, these people were up a mountain. If they're that old, maybe we're talking like blood level. You know what I mean? For a bloodline. My brain is running in like 100 different directions of where did we come from? And there's multiple different avenues. I got pages of notes here about the different thought beliefs of that it's possibly the daughter-in-laws of Noah, or because maybe they carried some genetic trait of the Nephilim. A lot of people try to lay it back to the Nephilim.
Because I've heard that one a lot, and for some reason, to me, it seems to kind of resonate the most. But there's also this other um, content provider that I know I've mentioned before, Extreme Reality. She is also RH negative. She's done extensive amount of research
I
on it.
actually watched some of her today.
Yes, I love her. I actually had talked to her several years back, via email back and forth before her channel had been
Yeah, she's
taken
another one
away.
that's gotten all of her channels back. Hey, Kent.
Yes, she is amazing. One of these days, I wonder if she still has the same email. I might try to get in touch with her to see if she might want to come and talk with us at some point. But she has a belief that maybe instead of the Nephilim, it goes back to Jesus specifically, like his bloodline or type. Um, But I've also heard then Jesus having like AB blood type, and who knows? I do know that there is somebody named Ron Wyatt who passed away in 1999, made a lot of interesting discoveries, and it is very possible he had a sample of the blood of Jesus from the crucifixion, and he tested that, and the anomalies were just insane, but he never did mention like a blood type necessarily. But it would be interesting to kind of you know delve down both kind of directions to kind of see what matches up the most. I do know that when Noah himself was born, he was what people would consider now to be albino, but his father was terrified when he saw him being born because he was pure white. Unlike anybody else on the planet that was human at the time, and he was worried that his son was part of the Nephilim bloodline because of his appearance. He looked like an angelic being or a son of God type scenario. So, and then again, he finds out later that it was an anointment by God upon Noah because he had already chose him for the task of, saving humanity and
Well,
animals.
and from what I gather, and I'm by no means a Bible, expert. From what I found in the Bible, Noah was picked. He was pure of heart, pure of man, bloodline that hadn't been tainted by the Nephilim, and
Right.
but his sons still picked wives. So who's to say if Noah was the only pure, that's why he saved him. He give him time to have sons to help him build the ark. These sons picked wives to repopulate the earth. So, and this is completely theory, folks. This is where my brain went today. If just say that Noah was pure and some of his daughters were the ones that were daughter-in-laws, and his sons were the ones that were gonna repopulate the earth. And this bloodline seems to originate in the Pyrenees Mountains, which would have been high ground in a flood. That's where my brain went.
Wait, repeat
So
that one more time.
if Noah was pure,
Hmm.
the RH negative, possibly, or whatever, but if the RH negative was Nephilim, if Noah was the only one that was pure, and his sons chose daughter in law or
Right.
wives out of the current population, if Noah was the only one that was pure, it means they were not. So some of them possibly could have been carrying the RH negative if RH negative was Nephilim. One
Well,
theory,
right.
only a theory.
And, to build on your theory and maybe kind of give you a little bit, I wouldn't say like 100% confirmation that that is accurate, but I would say it helps to kind of support what you're saying. Um, Remember that Ham was cursed by his father. Well, actually, technically, Ham himself wasn't cursed, it was his son and offspring from there. And his son was Cush, which was the father of Nimrod, right? Or Gilgamesh,
Uh huh.
whatever name you want to give him, who was very against God and considered to be a giant himself in all the depictions and artwork that you hear of all of that. So
Well,
technically, he is the grandson of Noah, but if we're going on, the basis that maybe his wife was not pure and had that Nephilim bloodline in it, that would make sense. Just kind of
Well, when I
throwing it out
start,
there.
what was the name of that? Extreme Reality Check? Isn't that her channel? Somebody was asking
Yes,
about it in chat.
extreme reality check.
I think it's spelled with an X in the Stream Reality Check. She's reposting a lot of her older stuff. She's got a lot of stuff on telepathy and RH negative, and she got some really interesting stuff. I was on there today and spent some time.
Oh, girl, there's a whole thing she does on the explanation of how, we as three-dimensional beings can only
Mm-hmm.
perceive things in a third-dimensional way, right? But
Right.
these planets and things that we see with our eyes and that look like balls may just be the third, whatever, just the realm of being able for us to see it in the perspective that we have being a three-dimensional being, where it could be like a five or six or seventh dimensional type being, and all you can really perceive is this ball. Anyways,
Well, see,
it's a
I'm be
very
honest with you. I think that's where Bigfoot or Yeti or whatever you want to call him. I think that's where he exists, and I think he can slip in between dimensions. But anyway, that's a whole.
right.
I'm all in on your dimensions, girl. That's where I think the Yetis are.
See, you gotta. Oh, girl. Okay. If I know you're not necessarily listening, extreme reality check, but if this video ever crosses your path, I freaking love you. And I still have the cards that I pass out, by the way, of about Jesus. Just saying. Anyways, continue.
Absolutely, girl. Give her a shout out. Let other people see her channel. She does amazing work. We are all a family here. We are all about sending people to other positive sources of information that is not just something they read on TikTok.
Yep.
Um, well, see, one of the other things that concerned me when I was down this Noah Trail in the Pyrenees Mountains, and you run across all kind of things.
Right.
Um, One of the things I was reading Nephilim that they were called the seed of Satan.
Hmm.
So if some of those daughter-in-laws had Nephilim blood that caused the RH negative, would the RH negative then be considered part of the seed of Satan? See, there's a whole nother question I got to go down in another day. Oh, another rare fact I found out today about us.
Hmm.
We have different fingerprints than everybody else.
What? Like in what
Mm-hmm.
way? Please explain.
We have we have many more swirls in our fingerprint than most other blood types do. That is such a weird anomaly to me because I
Question.
only look at anomalies that have been proven, in a large group of this blood type. And that's one of the anomalies is fingerprint pattern. O negative has a different fingerprint pattern than everybody else. So
See,
you can't tell me that if the blood's different and the fingerprint's different, something's really different.
see what's interesting to me though is I still believe like the O blood type in general is there's something
Yes.
special in particular with it. And I mean, even if you are positive or negative, there is something very, I
Unique.
don't know, unique about the O just bloodline. And what's weird is like not necessarily fingerprints, although mine are insane too, but I don't have the negative part. But my hands, like back in the day, as you all know, I was like into the whole new age stuff. I went through all kinds of occult things in my youth, okay. And of course, there's palm reading and tarot cards and all those things. And at one point, I went and tried to get my palms read. It was so stupid, but it's what we do when we're young. We're stupid. And the lady looked at my hands and was like, I have never seen anything like this. I don't even think it's possible to understand this because I have so many lines and markings on my hand. And I
Girl.
still don't understand. I've hardly seen anyone with hands like that. And they've been like this since I was little. It's not
Since
that
I
I'm
was
just getting
little, I
old.
look like I got a crazy roadmap on my
Right?
hands.
Oh my gosh, you too? See, I think that has something to do with just even the O blood type specifically.
Just for everybody's
because
information, Shannon and I will now be doing palm prints and scanning readings for.
not to read them, of course. Let's just
No,
be clear.
just so we can look at each other's hands because we're on two physical. See, if Shannon and I lived on the same coast or in the same time zone, our her husband would divorce her and Willie would leave me running because we'd be in a closet somewhere just reading the internet trying to find the facts.
No, with our whole map on the wall,
Getting
like,
it.
oh,
Corkboard, red strings, documents, pictures. This is why the good Lord put us on separate coasts so we could live a normal life because we'd never stop talking. We got Sweden in the house, and I saw you in here earlier, Cash. We got Sweden in the house.
well,
RH negative at that. Hey Capricorn, I see you in there. Um, yeah, we would never stop talking. Our husbands would just like kick us, or hers would anyway.
although he is pretty used to me talking a lot, maybe he might be relieved that it's not at
That I'm
dinner.
talking to somebody else, so he
He's
doesn't
like
have to
trying
hear
to
me.
watch something, and of course I'm like, did you see that ridiculous, occult stuff right here? And he's just like, can I just watch this? I'm like, no, you have to get a breakdown of every single thing I see.
You
You
need
don't
to know.
understand.
You need to
Yes.
know. I'm trying to save you. You need to know. Okay, back. Okay. It's Joe Pesci. Okay. Back to where we were. We're on track again. ADD kicked in. Um, Another theory I heard about the RH negative is that the Knights Templar were RH negative, all of them, and that they had been assigned to guard the Holy Grail, and the Grail was the downline of Mary Magdalene.
Well, you see, I happen to have read the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail, so I'm very familiar with this theory.
Oh,
I
is it?
wouldn't say I agree with everything
Yeah, I'm not saying
100%,
I agree with any of this, girl. We throwing stuff at the
right?
wall to see what sticks at this point.
But I
Because
do believe that Mary Magdalene, yes, fled there. I do believe in all of that particular aspect of it. I do not believe necessarily that she was married to Jesus and had his children. That is my specific, again, that's just my opinion and the things that I've researched and studied with that particular thing. And back when I was reading this, mind you, I was full in, man, back then, because this was before I was saved. And I was like, this could totally be a thing. And then just later on, I was like, okay, there's some misinformation in this, but I do truly believe that she was there. And I do believe that her and Jesus had a relationship that the other apostles didn't understand, especially with the view of women in the context of the time,
oh,
right?
absolutely.
And so the fact that he actually shared love with her as a human being and an apostle, because she was an apostle, just a female, which again, in the context of the time, is like unheard of. But if Jesus came for everyone, he came for us women too, and to show the world that we are just as worthy as men in our souls to be saved and to be a woman of God and to understand his law and his love and his grace.
Well, every time you see a woman in history, and again, when we talk about history, we completely understand that the winners wrote the book. So we have to go back and try to decipher how many fictitious things they put within that book or altered or changed. Not even talking about the Bible, just history in general.
Mm-hmm.
What they're hiding, what's up under that Smithsonian place and everywhere else. But when you go back and you look in history and you look at women who had any kind of stature or were in charge or in control or had some kind of knowledge that maybe a man didn't have, or she was made out to be a tramp.
Right.
Like
But
10 out of 10. She was made out to be a tramp, and the only reason she got where she got is because she was a tramp. I mean, even with Cleopatra, it was her birthright, and they claimed that and I'm not a Cleopatra fan, but everything I can find about any women in power always marks them as a tramp, whether it be governing power or power of spirit or anything. They were a tramp. That's why that was the only reason they got there.
see, there are righteous women in the Bible that are spoken of, even in the Old Testament. And that's, I believe, what Jesus was trying to show to everyone around who were just so into the law but didn't understand the law, didn't live it, didn't know its beauty and grace within its boundaries. They took it to the limits, and they never showed mercy or grace, which was such an important part of it. And by him taking in women into his group as a disciple and giving them that grace and that right was such a huge deal, and why it's been so suppressed. I mean, look, you can in the Catholic religion, and I'm not downing anyone again who believes in this faith, but they revere the Virgin Mary over Jesus most of the time. I mean, you're praying to her more. They have a whole thing about her ascension and the crowning up in heaven and things along those lines. It's super bizarre, you know, but it's I sorry, where was I going with this? Oh man, I lost my
It was
train of thought.
bizarre of how they
Oh,
marry.
yeah, with Mary. So this religion is so obsessed to revere her specifically, but yet they suppress Mary Magdalene's story. And she was so close to Jesus, but you don't hear about that. She even has her own book, in the books of the Apocrypha. And it's just, she had a different side to help teach that to other women in the future. And I feel like that is what they're really trying to suppress with Mary Magdalene, and her going on and being an apostle and spreading the word of Jesus, but as a woman.
Well, anytime you bring up and look at a woman in history, most of them are downplayed, or like I said, they're made out to be tramps, or they were lesser than. And as we know, division rules. When you're looking back at governments, which at that time would have been the Roman Empire, and we know the Roman Empire just turned into a church, they have never seen women as much of, great importance other than baby makers. And that's where I come back to the RH negative question with royal bloodlines. Many royal bloodlines go back to RH negative. All of them trace back to, and we're talking about them top 13s. And they all have RH negative. Well, if a woman gets pregnant by someone that is not RH negative, and she is, her first pregnancy will go fine. Any subsequent pregnancy without the new invention of the ROGAM shot, the pregnancy would have terminated. But then my scientific question becomes, how did they know back then who was and who wasn't, other than inbreeding of marrying cousins and nieces and nephews?
Hmm. And they always say in royalty, right, they have the blood right to rule. They're very obsessive about keeping their bloodlines clean. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of the infidelity and bastard children from a lot of these things were kept away, usually imprisoned, exiled in some other place because they were not considered good enough. They were tainted by other bloodlines. I did just kind of want, because I pulled this up, I just don't want to forget it. I just want to read off some of, well, the names that come up of righteous women in the Bible.
Go right
In the
ahead.
Old Testament, we have Deborah, Esther, Ruth, Abigail, Sarah, Jochebed, Rahab, Miriam, Jael, Sephira, and Pua. I am so sorry if I am not saying these properly. And then the New Testament, of course, Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Mary Magdalene is in there. And there's Priscilla, who is, more in the Paul uh, writings. And then there were other women who supported Jesus. Again, there were the two women, I believe, was it Martha and Mary Magdalene, who Jesus appeared to first when he resurrected. I just
Mhm.
kind of wanted to put those names out there because, again, I feel like a lot of the women in the Bible just get looked down upon or skipped over, and they are just as much children of God than any other man. So I just wanted to say that.
Well
It's like
well, just FYI, without us, they ain't no more nobodies.
this
Well, other than
legit.
clones, but you know what I mean. And they
Yeah.
can't clone RH negative. That's another thing. They can't clone it. It won't clone.
That is, again,
Mhm.
interesting. See, these are little clues. I need my little push pins and papers
Isn't
with
it? I need
string.
a couple of 100 foot of red yarn.
Right?
Well, you got low body temperature, our blood tend, and when I say our, I mean RH negative. Lower body temperature, normally in the 97 range. You got unusual fingerprints. You have blood that, when put in certain conditions with frequency and lights, does things that others will and won't do. Then you've got green or blue eyes, extra vertebrae. The majority of people that are RH negative have really high IQs. They're very intuitive. When they walk in a room, they can pick out the bad person or the good person. Most of the time, people kind of tend to flock to them. They tend to be more empathetic or sympathetic to other people's feelings. These are just things that I'm finding on lists of other RH negative and other science studies that have been done on it, which is kind of crazy to me. Because when you go out there and you try to find the actual scientific studies that have been done on RH negative, you can't find many of them. And you're not going to tell me, as much of an anomaly as this is, that it hasn't been done. It just hasn't been published.
Well, here's the thing that you bringing this up because this is important. This is not just even this subject matter, but a lot of things that I have a feeling like, and I just know that a lot of this information was very available at least 10 years ago, at least. But because I can tell you there are things that I watched 10, 11 years ago that I remember vividly, and I know I was able to research it. I know I was able to pull it up, and lots of things came up on it. And now there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And AI pops up and says, well, that's a fallacy. That's just a rumor that existed. I'm like, no, it's not. I saw it with my own eyeballs. I know for a fact it was out there, you know? So I think that there is that research out there because they did research on it. They published it. It's just suppressing, AI
Mm-hmm.
is suppressing everything.
Well, you know they've had to do considerable research on it because of all the blood types and intermixing when you need a donation or an organ or a kidney, and you did enough research on it that I only have one screen, so I can't do much research. But I wonder when they started doing blood tests for marriage license.
Right. I'm curious if that was in 1957.
Let's see. Why don't you
Because
go
that
ahead?
just
Why
seems
don't
to
you
be
go
the
ahead and
year.
speak to the viewers there, co-host, while I look up this fact on my handy dandy phone because I'm down to
I
one screen again tonight.
I just bring this specific year up because it just seems like every single thing I have been on the trail of for the last 12 plus years, and especially lately, everything seems to point to this started 1957. And I'm like, I mean, we know a lot of this stuff had already been experimented with a bit, that was hidden, and before they actually got these government programs or these different subliminal advertisements or these whatever that they started doing in 1957 and then 1958 as well. That's kind of also in there. But it just seems like everything I have found has started that particular year.
Well, well, looky here. Blood tests for marriage were first mandated in the U.S. in the late 30s, but most states required them 1954.
So just a couple years, but it's
It
still
took,
in that window.
yep, they started it in 54 and it took a little while for the other states to come on board. They claim the laws were initially to screen for diseases like syphilis and later for HIV, but were repealed in many places in the 80s and 90s as STDs became better managed.
Very
Mhm.
interesting.
Really. So the
Huh.
government so the government was trying to figure out who had an STD. Tell me something I believe. That ain't it. I can promise you that ain't it. The government don't care about what nobody's got as long as you bought whatever from one of their companies to fix it. They don't care. That is such bull. Anyway,
Well, uh, they have caused a lot of
of
certain
the
things.
STDs, yeah.
So, I mean,
They're just trying to figure out how
they
good their
even
experimentation was working.
they helped you create these things. The OG bioweapons, guys.
And it is not funny by any means, guys, but just the thought of how absurd it is. Did we know this? We know what they're doing. We know what they've done. We know what they're probably gonna do. But we can't. It's just hilarious to laugh at it because what are we supposed to do other than get on here and discuss it and make other people aware?
Right.
Oh, by the way, Shannon, I've decided I'm going to write us a whole lexicon on code words. Like,
Ooh.
our whole Capri Sun. I'm gonna write us a whole lexicon on code words to not get his community violated.
Oh, that's fabulous. I could just stick it here on the side of my
Yeah, like code
computer.
words. Maybe it'll help with our half sentence stutter when you just stop mid sentence and you're trying to figure out what code word to use for it.
I think you're right. See, here's the thing, right? There's so many great content writers out there who are just on it. They're on their game, but a lot of the times they have this beautifully written script in front of them. We don't we don't even have time to do something like that,
Yeah,
let alone
ain't got time to write no
you know?
script.
But
Script
I do like the lexicon idea because then I could just look at it real quick and
for
just make
code
it
words.
really, really large and in like really red or vibrant colors so I can
Ain't it?
see it.
Ain't it? Like, and have them blinking on the wall, like, don't say this, don't say this. I
For
agree with
real.
you. I agree with you, Rage. Find him. Where'd he go? But we are never on script, folks. We couldn't stay on the script if we had to. Shannon and I have trouble
Well,
staying on a topic, much less a script.
I mean, I could with rehearsal, but where's the fun in that?
I ain't got time for rehearsal neither. I'm
Right?
doing 5 shows a week, man. I ain't got time for rehearsal. Somebody holler at me and say go, and I'm gonna come running in and start talking. That's about all I got at this point. I'm
It's
running.
okay. It's okay. Even as a songwriter, I can't even remember my own lyrics most of the time. So, it's embarrassing, but it's the truth. I need one of those teleprompters as I'm
Well, Shannon, when we
performing.
get off air, I'm gonna send you a I'm gonna send you a picture of my notes for tonight because of out of desperation I could not find anything but the construction paper that belonged to my 9-year-old granddaughter. So we have hot pink and yellow notes on both sides for tonight's show because I'm at the farm and I couldn't find paper.
At least you could read it.
I can read it. I have to look at it a couple of times because there's like arrows that go from the top to the bottom and back left to right, and I'm like, oh, this is connecting, my cork board. But
Right.
yeah, I'm looking over
So,
my notes.
back to the topic of oh,
Neg.
like oh, particularly just I'm so curious because again it's like in these studies and the things that you found it's describing all of the things that I have like in attributes except for maybe an extra vertebrae or some certain things,
Well, and
but
this is the thing, Shannon. You think you don't have an extra vertebrae. Most people don't understand that they have the extra vertebrae because Raisin trying to talk. You gotta stop distracting me, dude. I was in a thought. Most people don't understand that they have an extra vertebrae because it was marked as a birth defect. It's the extra vertebrae is actually like partially adhered to your pelvis. It looks
hmm,
like it almost looks like uh the way mine looks. It looks like an extra vertebrae on the bottom, but it's not almost like the bottom part of it's not separate from my pelvis. They call it a they call it fused something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, a lot of people don't even realize they have that. They've always just had lower back pain, couldn't explain it, didn't know why. And back in the 90s, when we went to orthopedics, they told us it was a birth defect. It had been like that since birth. It's almost like we have a lizard tail coming out of our butt. And I know, the whole lizard Draco thing, that's a whole nother avenue with
that's
this RH negative.
well in as I clear my throat, sorry, excuse me. um with the whole reptilian thing, the whole Draco thing, all of that, I'd like to kind of put it in a biblical perspective. In the book of Jubilees, because again, I'm referring to a book from the Apocrypha, not canonized. Some people may not know about this, but there is description of all these different hierarchies of angels, and the seraphim, which Lucifer was a seraphim angel originally, they had reptilian attributes. So it's just kind of fascinating because when you're talking about the fall of Lucifer and how he took a third of the angels with him,
Hmm.
I truly believe these interdimensional reptilian type beings are related to that line of angels, and they have the ability to shapeshift, all of those kinds of things. So it's not too far off to think that maybe there could be a little bit of some of that left over in the bloodline if it does
Somewhere.
indeed connect to the Nephilim and the fallen angels.
Well, and I went back and I looked at the fallen angels and what they said the attributes of each were. And then I try to go back sometimes and I look at what was said in the Bible or even what was in hieroglyphs in, caves and pyramids and things of that nature. The words they had then for things are not the words we use now. And when I think what was the one I was looking up that was in the Bible? It was talking about the end of times, and it said that one of the things that marked the end of time would be when the statue spoke. Is that's kind of condensed, but
Statues or like rocks?
maybe it said I don't know. I'll have to go back and find it, Shannon. I'll make a note that I need to go back and
Because
find that one.
I do recall something about talking about the rocks would come to life or speak again, something along those lines. And with a lot of the studies that I've been super obsessed with for years now, thanks to the fact that we can now supposedly see bird's eye view of these land masses and things, I
Mm-hmm.
truly believe a lot, the remains of the Nephilim in the flood are a lot of the things that we see in the mountains. And yes, I do believe there are ancient tree stumps. I am totally
I'm
on
on it.
board with on that
Yep.
with all that, but I do believe that a lot of these structures are also the mud fossiled remains of these giants and titans and things in the book of Enoch that are spoke of and things along those lines. So when they say the rocks or the stones will talk or come to life, that's what I think of. And okay, forever ago, Russell Crowe did that movie Noah, right? Which was complete, just utter blasphemy in so many regards. But in that movie, they actually show that these rocks, these beings, these giant mountainous rock type things are speaking to him and conversing with him in this movie. And it
Okay.
just, which brings me also to the never ending story, but whatever. Anyways, it just reminded me of what you said.
Well, I've got all kind of stuff in chat we got to go back to. We'll go back to chat in just a second. I saw some comments in there. We're going to talk about them. Give me a minute, and
Oh,
we'll
and the
go there.
rocks shall cry out.
According to biblical prophecy, a statue will speak during the end times, a vision described in the book of Revelations. In this passage, a second beast gives life to an image of the first beast, enabling it to speak and demand that all who refuse to worship be killed. Um, Sounds a lot like AI robot to me.
Right.
And I think Daryl said it a while ago, but that's what it, when I was reading that, that's what it brought to mind was an AI robot.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they considered then as an inanimate image of a being that had no consciousness, and what you would think of now as an inanimate being with no consciousness that speaks would be a robot.
Right.
At least
I
that's what I think.
I think into that other part that kind of got mixed in is and the rock shall cry out, which does go back to Genesis when, Cain slew Abel and the rocks, the ground literally spat out his body every time he tried to bury him into the earth. The earth literally it literally was like vomiting out the body. And it talks about how it just rejected the blood, like the blood literally seeped into it, and the ground cried out to God in just an awfulness of the violation.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Hang on. I got comments here we got to go back to because some have intrigued me. First off, Red Amber Podcast. You need to email us, dude. I need to hear this story.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Died in a motorcycle accident in '05. Came out of body. Brother who died in '93 was taking me up, but I came back down. Brother was told it wasn't my time. Not afraid to die. I need to hear your story.
Yes.
If you don't
um
mind.
if we could have it for testimonial Tuesdays,
Absolutely.
just throwing that out
All right,
there.
next comment. What I find interesting is there are 72 angels, and some of the Muslims think they get 72 virgins in paradise. Strange coincidence. There are no
No
coincidences,
coincidences.
unaveraged Joe.
Too, the Mormon belief is very similar in the fact that they believe, you know, that they will inhabit a planet and be a god there, and they will have like millions of wives to procreate that that planet. Just very
Well, they also think
interesting.
it's acceptable to marry a 6-year-old, so we ain't even gonna go down that dirty little
Well,
road.
again, the other thing that was just mentioned, and a few others also. So yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yep. And Cash, you are correct. Silicone has more to do than we think about it. We all heard back in the 90s, Silicon Valley, Silicon Valley. Um, if you will go and look, and I know most of our viewers out here know what a Stargate is and has probably looked into where some of them may be or are supposed to be. Look at the geological composition of where they say or where people believe they are sitting. Most of them would be in an area where it's high in silicone or high in quartz.
Hmm. Quartz, gold, and silicone all play parts in all of that. And of course, that book that I'm going to be giving out at the end of December,
Mm-hmm.
David has a whole section that points out all of the geological elements that go into all of the technology, and how,
Mm-hmm.
again, there's nothing new under the sun, that this stuff had been in since the beginning. And when you look at like a cityscape and a bird's eye view, and you look at ancient pyramid structures in the whole city, how it's constructed, and then you look at a computer chip, you see that they are all one and the same.
Computer chips look exactly like city layouts in
Mm-hmm.
Mexico if you zoom out and zoom in. That was, and that this is crazy that you said that, Shannon. The first time I felt like I had woke up after prayer the night before and had a download that
Mm-hmm.
I felt like there was something to it that I needed to dig in. It was when it was like I was told I was looking too closely to back out with a 50,000-foot view. And that's when I backed out and started looking at geology and
Yeah.
archaeology. And I was looking at it as a whole map rather than trying to zoom in on one spot. And it changed my view of a lot of things when I started looking at the geology of what the earth is and where particular people stay. And this is another RH negative thing. Quartz, regardless of what kind it is, they have their own unique energy frequency. RH negative people actually change and interact with a quartz frequency different than RH positive do.
Which is interesting you bring that up, because I'm going to give a shout out to Mud Fossil University. I don't know if any of you guys know who he is. He is an amazing researcher, has lots and lots of evidence, phenomenal guy. But, anyways, he brings up that things like quartz and gold and a lot of these gems that are found within the earth and things along those lines are actual, biological matter that had been, crystallized or fossilized within these Nephilim. So it really, I mean, what if again it's connected in that to where it's literally like the same kind of
Blood.
genetic biological matter.
And and that's what that whole thing this morning on the RH negative, where it behaves differently with frequencies. Now we're
Mm-hmm.
talking raw blood samples, that they were testing. Sorry, guys. Um, and this whole quartz thing, a lot of the quartz I've looked at, if you go look at quartz mines, where they mine quartz at, and look at the composition of it, and we think that possibly that quartz could have, like Shannon said, could have been, Nephilim or giants or whatever that
Mm-hmm.
are died and petrified. Go look at sea salt mines. That'll tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looks like bacon to me all day long.
Oh, for real? Bacon for
Look,
real.
it looks like bacon, and we all know that most animals, warm-blooded animals, all kind of have the same muscle fat
Mm-hmm.
structure. Um, that it would make sense if there's memory in the blood, and that's why frequency and quartz are somehow acting or reacting together against whatever it is. But if anybody's got any leads on studies with the Rh negative bloodline, I would love to see them. Just send me a link. And I'm going to type my email in here in the chat at the moment. So feel free to, there we go, email me if you know where their studies at. Email me links. Because I'm looking. I want to know it all. I'm Rh negative and I don't understand why I've always been so different compared to other people. Like my brain doesn't even work like other people.
Well,
Yes.
oh,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, bringing it kind of back to just even the O and the O negative and O positive, back in ancient Sumerian writings and things along those lines. There's, I can't remember what it was called. It's like 3,000 pages of insanity of like the history according to Nimrod or Gilgamesh,
Mm-hmm.
of things. But it talks about how they created like this slave race in a sense, in genetically modifying them, not through necessarily your regular type of procreation, but kind of like what we know today with genetic modification and cloning and that kind of thing.
You mean
But
some of the, yeah. Mm-hmm.
right, but they still used their own genetic code along with that, so they could have strength and to do these things for them as a slave race. And I'm just curious if maybe not necessarily the whole Rh negative in general, but just in the O range, like the Rh negative factor definitely has to come from some kind of angelic line. And just remember, the angels came from heaven, guys. This is still a very holy bloodline, but it wasn't meant to mix in with God's plan and genetic structure of us, of human beings. But you get these things mixed together, they create the Nephilim. But if they are genetically reconstructing a specific slave race, wouldn't it just be interesting if it had something to do with, again, this bloodline specifically? And
Mm-hmm.
the Rh negative, yes, but it just all seems to kind of culminate. I know
Well,
it's off the topic, but
no, 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 no. See, wait a minute. Let me flip over to side B of the fluorescent pink paper
okay.
because on side B of my fluorescent pink paper, um, it's beautiful. By the way, it's beautiful. There are 8 blood types. 9 if you count null. I can't remember if it's 8 and 9 or 7 and 8, but you have A, B, AB, and O. And then you have a positive and a negative of all of those. And the story you're talking about, where they were altering to try to make slave
Mhm.
race to mine things. Don't ever forget to tell you about streets of gold to look like glass. I got something on that too. But my brain, it'll be scattered off on a squirrel.
Me too, girl.
But in the theory, in the theory, if you've got different angels that came down here and laid with the daughters of men, what if originally we all had the same blood type and each one of those angels that laid with the daughters of men changed the blood type? You know what I'm saying? The
Right.
alteration. Like if they all separate out into their own little tribe and each angel, which was a different angel with different whatever, changed each blood type? What if we all started as O? Just saying. I mean, it's a
Right.
theory. Like I said, it's a theory.
Well,
Okay.
because O positive is a universal donor, maybe
Yep.
except for the Rh negative, but O negative it can give to anybody,
But I
literally
can only take
anybody.
my own. Yep.
But you can only take your own.
Uh,
So there's something to that.
Red Amber Podcast Alert says he can't see. My email is Roxy's, ROXYS, new, NEW, life, LIFE, at gmail.com. Send me some contact over there, dude. We need to talk to you. I guess that's a man or woman. Red Amber Podcast. Maybe that's a girl. Not sure. Anyway, email me. I want to talk to you. Okay. Gold. See, told you squirrel. Gold. It tells you there will be streets of gold that will be clear as glass
In heaven?
in heaven.
Yeah.
Monatomic gold at 570 or 750 degrees disappears. If you put
Ooh.
a plate of monatomic gold and you heat it up, it will physically disappear from sight into another dimension. But when it
There
cools back down, it will reappear.
there is some other things about monoatomic gold that is really fascinating. Sorry, I'm like, ooh, you touched on feelers that I
Get it,
love.
girl.
Okay.
Get it. Get it.
Well, monoatomic gold can also kill nanotechnology, just so you know, just like nicotine can. It literally just annihilates it. But back in the Old Testament days, when these men could somehow have the strength and ability to take down these giants, because there were many races of giants in the Old Testament, David and Goliath, okay? But David and Goliath, or Goliath specifically, his particular sect of giants weren't even as big as some of the other ones, okay? But these men in the Old Testament could literally take them down. Yes, of course, it was the power of God, but how could they overpower them? Well, you come to find out that the food that was grown back then would take the monoatomic gold from the soil, from everything, and really just come and flourish in through the foods. And the foods were just so much bigger and grander than we have today. And it just, they were able to consume in a natural source through these foods this monoatomic gold, and it boosted up their strength, their immunity, their ability to connect frequency to God. Is just it's a very fascinating subject matter.
It is. It is very fascinating. And that's how I ended up on a monatomic gold in the streets of heaven, because it tells you that the streets will be made of gold, yet they'll be clear as glass. So, and that's where I was like, ooh, let's see. I'm looking at the comments. If we miss telling anybody hello, hey everybody, we got some new people in here tonight chatting. And yes, God is love. And
Amen.
that's what we're all about in here, is loving one another and loving God. Wild Man said, this is in scripture that Nimrod became a mighty one, a giant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a war that happened right after something happened in New York, and two things come tumbling down.
Mm-hmm.
When all of that happened, there's always an underlying reason for that. And later, when other things happen, there's this lady, her husband was a president, and he had a girlfriend named Monica. That lady, the wife, I'm telling you, trying to talk around this. I don't have my code word lexicon here. There was some situations, and to my understanding, there are emails from a server that she tried to bleach that specifically pointed to the fact that she was sending troops over there to find something of Gilgamesh's.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
there's some video out there that has been circulating for many, many years that I do not discount. I just don't at this point. And I do believe it was found. And I do believe they've been messing with genetics with that and taking DNA and things along those lines.
Well, and I didn't know at the time. I was not awake. I was not aware. I did 23andMe back in the day. Back after my dad passed away, we done the 23andMe,
Mm-hmm.
in which I've learned some phenomenal things about, what they can put together. Like, I can take the alleles in my bloodline way back in the day. Like some of
Right.
the first corpses they've ever, tested for stuff like that. Um, and it's very interesting what you can find from that. And everything I believe to be true about my genetics of how my family got to America and where they came from and who they were. 23andMe's like, yep, you're right. Here it goes. Boom, boom, boom. And it helped. But now I'm a little concerned that they have that information. But if you've ever been to a doctor and they took your blood, they had it anyway.
Right. I'm
Uh,
curious because I just heard that recently. I don't know if it was 23andMe or Ancestry.com because they also have their own DNA thing. There's like three different companies, but they recently did an update or something and it had changed all the information so drastically that so many people had originally that it just seemed really fishy. I wasn't sure if it was 23andMe or not, but I didn't know if you knew anything about that.
23andMe got bought out and sold out and all kinds of stuff about the database information. And this is something I learned from a nutritionist. And yes, I do believe, Jarrell, we are possibly in Revelations.
Mm-hmm.
But um, what was I saying? 23andMe. My brain went
23andMe.
blank. Left brain,
Uh,
right brain. It went boop. Anyway, I'm a little nervous about the fact, but like I said, if you've ever been to a doctor, they already got that information. I'm on the list anyway because they've been testing on me since
oh
the
yeah,
80s. So, I mean, I ain't
yeah,
like they don't know where I'm at.
right.
They know where everybody's at. Because I'm telling you, I got people in my family that are first responders, and I know about the tech that they've got out there monitoring, even in smaller cities and towns. They know where everybody's at all times. And unless you just don't own an electronic device and you don't have a debit card and you only work on cash and you live in the woods, that's about the only way they don't know where you're at and what you're doing.
Exactly. Too, like, I don't know how many of you guys were X File nerds like I was, but there is an episode where I believe it's Mulder who gets trapped in this big warehouse full of things. Maybe Scully was with him. I can't remember. But they discover that it's just files upon files upon files upon files of just about like every human being on the planet. And each file has a blood sample that was taken at birth and
Hmm.
filed away in this big giant warehouse.
Well, see, I don't
So,
have a lot of confidence I don't have a lot of faith in the confidence of our government because I've heard how they were handling the Social Security retirement system. So until some people get in there and get some stuff, I just don't have a lot of faith in their organization and their record keeping.
hmm. Well, I do believe that when it comes to specific things, I'm pretty sure they're on top of their their game with the things that they actually want to keep, in
Hmm.
their filing system.
They probably have a whole department just to keep track of us.
Yeah, but I do think it's interesting. There's a lot of things that X Files has put out there, it's all predictive programming that has a lot of ring of truth to it. And that always interested me because I do think that's a real thing. I really think because you all get your blood taken from your foot when you're born. And
Hmm. They
they do
automatically type you.
automatically. So what's to say they didn't keep a sample of it on a paper and file it away? Kept
All
it
right, hang
there.
on. Let's see. I cannot pronounce that. I don't know how to pronounce your name, honey. Lay. Layla
Layla
Schmidt.
Schmidt.
Okay. See, I ain't got my glasses on. Let me tell you how to get your blood type. You can actually order a kit off of Amazon. Will cost you like $10. You can do
Of
it at
course you
home.
can.
I've done it many times for many people. Or if you've ever had surgery or any type of procedure at a hospital, go and request the medical records of that procedure. Your blood type will be in it. And yes, a lot of doctors won't tell you. I have some issues. I only go to one doctor, and that is for my cancer checkups. And they don't
God,
like
I
me. They don't
can't.
like me. Take a guess. They don't like me. But because, like, when I go in, I went in, a couple of months ago, and I go in once a month. I have a cancer, which is very high to reoccur. So I go in every month. I take a lot of ivermectin and, bendazole now. And now
Mhm.
that I take it, they're like, "Oh my gosh, your blood work looks so good." And I'm like, "Mm-hmm." She looked at me and she said, "Why?" I said, "Because I take ivermectin." She just kind of looked at me and she said, "Okay, thank you." And she got up and left the room. That was like the end of the conversation. But you know what? That was one visit where she didn't try to get me to get a mammogram, an MRI, a PET scan, and a colonoscopy, all just for good measure. Like, I'm all good, girl. All you got to do, you want to get out of the doctor's office, say ivermectin. They'll shut right down. But I've
Good to
had many
know.
doctors before to try to have an RH negative conversation with, like, just regular doctors, like, hey, I got a medical question. I mean, I'm probably paying you $7,000 to come in here for you to write me something for a sinus infection. Can I ask a question? And they don't know. They're not taught that. And it's back to the thing of just like they teach our children in public school down this narrow hallway, that's the same way they teach doctors.
Girl, they don't even. Okay. When I was having my children, I am a hairdresser, okay? I know that this thing that's called an MSDS sheet exists for every single product out there, period. If it has a chemical composition, there is an MSDS sheet on it. And even in my profession, we are not only like we have to know by law what an MSDS sheet, but we have to get access to it at any point in time if anybody ever asks because of allergy issues or whatever. It's something that we have to provide. If not, we can be sued. I asked my doctor who kept pushing, me to get vaccinated. Sorry, the jabbed. Sorry about it. I need the lexicon. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I got when they were trying to do that when I was pregnant, and I was like, no way. Like, I don't need this. And this was even before I even understood a whole lot about a whole lot. I was on the path, but didn't quite know yet. And I asked my doctor, can I see the MSDS sheet on this? Which I also repeated, may I see was material data, whatever
Safety sheet,
sheet.
yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, what's that?
Yeah.
What do you mean, what's that? I mean,
See,
you're a
look,
doctor. You get paid a
look,
heck of a lot more than I
look
do,
at
and
her.
I have to
Rage
know what that
Rage is
is.
helping you out. Look at
Oh,
her. Look
thank
at
you.
Rage. Thank you,
Yeah,
Rage.
MSDS. Thank you. I appreciate you. But yeah, so he didn't even know what it is. I asked so many nurses, so many doctors over the years, can you provide me with an MSDS sheet on what is in these jabs that you want to put in me or my children? Not a single one could provide it. I got super close once where a nurse asked me, first of all, well, why are you
Asking.
religiously against it? Because I said I am religiously against it. And I said, well, because there is, you know, a fetal material in it and things along those lines. And that is against my religion. And she's like, yeah, I actually could see that. She didn't deny it. So she said, well, normally we don't have MSDS sheets available. We usually are told to throw them away, but I think we just threw one away. So let me go in the trash and grab it. I was like, heck yes. Finally, somebody, right? She comes back. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. They took the trash out already. And I was like, you're
Really?
lying. She was so lying.
You know she
They
was.
know, you know, she was. Someone said, oh no, you can't do that. That's what it was. And it's like,
Mm,
if a hairdresser is by law required to provide their client with an MSDS sheet for something they put on their head, then why in the world wouldn't the medical establishment need to provide an MSDS sheet on any of their pharmaceuticals that you put inside of your body? Just saying.
well, see, now we've got on childbirth. We got Snowball and we got Layla over here. And wait a minute, I want to talk to both of you. Yes, Snowball. Most women are now having C-sections. They're letting them pre-schedule it. I think that's getting out the easy way. But anyway, well, I say easy way because there's a whole lot of healing after that. I had a kid and 3 days later drove myself back to town through natural childbirth.
I've had to go through both and not by choice on the C-section thing, and still to this day I feel like I
Well,
still could have done it, but
did you know that C-section children, um, their spinal cord is actually impacted, and most people don't know that. I didn't know this.
this actually would make a lot of sense. My
Where
son
the
has a lot of back problems,
All
and so
right,
does my
during
husband.
childbirth, well, during childbirth, head comes out first. You know, they kind of grab the head and
Mm-hmm.
the shoulders and they're pulling on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you get children that are born C-section, a lot of times there's like an impaction at the cervical up toward the neck and the head. And when these children are 5 or 6 years old, there's some chiropractors now that are coming out and showing, like some of these kids that have ADD and seem a little foggy, they actually adjust them and kind of like pop that cranial structure out, and it changes the kid's life.
Oh my gosh, I'm so taking my son like
I'll have to
ASAP.
send a video and
Send,
send it to you.
please, 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 please.
I think it's because it's against the natural way. It's riffing it out. I do believe that that's it. I understand that they're gonna. Well, my daughter, both of her kids were C-section. The first one, she tried for 36 hours to have that baby on her own, but it just weren't gonna happen because her uterus would not contract. And the second one, after you have the first one C-section,
Mm,
they're gonna do the second one out of danger. Um, let's see. I'm looking at the comments. And they are against anything that's natural. They want to keep us away from anything that leads us closer to the truth. And this is the thing. The only reason they try to keep us from the truth is because they're scared to death once we figure out who and what we are, that we will stand up and take over. Because there's 99 of us and only one of them. And this is the thing. As long as they keep us dumbed down and dull and we don't know the truth, that and this is one of the reasons why we're now doing shows, trying to do shows 5 days a week, multiple shows a day, to get truth out. Because I think that what I've been tasked with by God is to leave breadcrumbs. I'm not supposed to teach a lesson. I'm supposed to get everybody curious enough to go look, to let's figure it out. That's
I,
what I feel like my calling is that I'm supposed to leave the breadcrumbs for everybody else to go find their own truth because I don't ever want anybody to take what I say as concrete proof. I could be wrong, I could be a hair off, it could just be some wild crazy theory, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to figure it out.
I just kind of wanted to point out this comment because it was, what I had mentioned earlier. Noah had bright eyes, symbolic of blue, and was fair. Most Rh negative people are fair with blue or green eyes, which again just brings me back to maybe it's also having to do with the O in general because I have blonde hair, I'm fair skinned, I have blue eyes that are crystal like half the time, but it has the golden ring in the center and
Hexachromia.
the hexachromia. And I just think it's very interesting because when I did read the description of Noah when he was born, and of course the reaction of everything, and the fact that his father had really believed that he was, of like a Nephilim at that point until God pretty much eased his mind, like, no, it's my appointed guy. It's good. It's good.
He's good.
But I just like, wow, you're describing what I look like. And I think to myself, does this have something to do with the little funny man with the mustache and his obsession with
Mhm.
the blonde hair, blue eyed thing and the fair
Well, everything
skin?
I can find about him is his when he used the word Aryan, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it was as much for blonde hair, blue eyed. And you were so distracting, Rage. You were so distracting. You and Cash, you two kill me. But he had talked to this woman, Maria Orsic, supposedly. This is what I can find. And she said she had a download from the Aryan race, which had given her schematics for a craft, but she could not read them. So in Germany, she arranges with one of the original Knights Templar, a Tibetan monk, and somebody else to meet with her to look at this download she said she got because they were written two copies of it written in languages she couldn't read. One was Sanskrit and one was an ancient Tibetan language. Supposedly, these drawings and schematics were for the Hanabu craft. And I go down the Ingersoll Lockwood rabbit hole a lot. One of their big things on there is exposing that the Hanabu craft was real, that they've had it since probably the 30s, and that it can fly at mini Mach, Mach 2, Mach 5, whatever it is, mini speeds. They can go pole to pole very quickly. They've had this since the 30s. If somebody's interested in looking up something very unique, go back and look up that little snippet of history that you really don't hear about called the Battle of Los Angeles back
Oh, I know
then.
so much about that. I was kind of
That's a
obsessed
very
over it.
well, when you figure out about that Hanabu craft and then you think about Roswell,
Mm-hmm.
that Roswell probably wasn't little green men. It was probably friends of the little man with the mustache because the little
Mm-hmm.
man with the mustache did not die over there in that bunker.
No.
Nah, he was in
No.
Argentina in a beach house, folks. He had two
Mm-hmm.
of them. He was married and had two daughters. The Argentina government is releasing documents that prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they've they've known it, and when we say they, we know who we talking about with they. It's all of they. This continent, that
Mm-hmm.
continent, all the continents. There has been this exclusive agreement between many of the rulers of many continents to not release certain information. And I think that little red dude over there in the Russia place,
Mm-hmm.
he's had about enough. He's starting to release stuff now, which leads you back to Tartaria,
Mm-hmm.
and all kind of stuff is coming out. This is one of our things that Shannon and I have been on. Why? Why are they letting us say all this and talk about
Yeah.
this? And why? Is it a
Why?
trap?
It is. I know it is, girl. I feel it in my very being. Okay, in my very being. I am curious that the female you mentioned that had the download, she was from the Vril Society, correct?
Yes.
A very interesting fact about the Vril Society, they were obsessed with their hair, the length of
Mm-hmm.
their hair, because they believed that had something to do with their ability to connect to beings and information and all of that. And of course, the fallen angels, they were attracted to the women because of their hair. It's something that we're always, in all these cultures around the world, women have always had to cover their hair because of the possibility we could create too much desire or something. And there's always something with hair. Even Samson, he felt his power was in his hair, and then Delilah cut it off, until he realized that the power of God was within him
All
in the
right. We've
end.
got
But
men in the audience. Let's ask them. You're a hairdresser. I'm gonna ask this question in the audience. There are men out there. When you met your spouse or girlfriend or girlfriends of the past, whatever, um, how quickly did you notice her hair? How important was her hair? as to whether it was short or long or blonde or black or curly. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is the hair? Because the hair is important to me. This is one of the reasons I don't cut my hair anymore.
Mhm.
Um, and I just wonder to men, I know most men I've talked about, hair is considerately up on the list of attractive features,
Right.
when they're picking a mate. So there's more to the hair thing. And yes, I do believe it's nerve endings
Right.
and antennas, so to speak, just like the one on our arms or our legs or anywhere else. The hair's there
Right.
for a reason. And that's why when, something happens and the hair stands up on your arm, you're like, ooh, I mean, there's a
Right.
reason. You feel your scalp crawling.
And in many cultures, when it comes to wartime, a lot of the ways to emasculate a man was to cut off his hair, and then he
Hmm.
would be considered useless in battle. These kinds of things to really just hone in on this hair thing being such an important aspect and why we're supposed to be covering it and things along those lines. I'd like to delve in more research just on that alone as to why. I mean,
Well,
there
see,
has to be more than just a desire factor to why covering the hair is also kind of important.
absolutely. I mean, it's got to play a major portion in, in everyday life and the attractiveness of a mate and your health. And a lot of people think it has, you have more connection to source. So
But
when,
it's
I
like,
wonder, when did men start cutting their hair and keeping it that
right,
way?
and keeping it that way. And also too, again, it's like with the hair covering, what is it? Because sure, I let my hair down a lot. I don't like to necessarily put it up all the time, and except I do like buns and stuff. But I'm a hat person. I will wear a hat just about anytime, anywhere, all day long. I've always been told, oh, you're trying to hide with your hat or whatever, but it just always feels like it's right, like covering my head and part of my hair. It's like it's important and protective or something. God makes rules and laws for a reason, and these boundaries for a reason. It's like protecting us. So I'm just curious: is that there's something that to it to cover the hair and protection, at
See,
least.
Layla done put me on another rabbit hole now. See, I done been down this one, Layla. I've been down this and looked at it, and you are dead on the money.
Yeah.
They say that Native Americans, when their hair was cut, they had lost their ability to track animals, like they did, and this was an actual like study they did. We talking, way back in the day, the Americans in or I'm not going to say Americans because we were not Americans. We were invaders of a land of a native people. Um, I don't even like to talk about the cowboys and Indians because the
Mm,
cowboys should have packed up and went home. But
right.
anyway, and my people were cowboys. I truly feel that. But anyway,
I'm
there
a
is
little
a
bit of both, girl. So.
well. I don't get me wrong. I got some Native American in me, but I mean it's not a lot. But that's one of the things in history that was written by the winners that they made it seem like, they come over here and they just displaced 10 people. No, you come over here and took over a nation that already had trade routes set up with other nations. This was not some backwards people living in the woods that you got to run out. These were people who already had established trade routes. And because there was more land here, the colonizers come in and just took it. But we ain't gonna go down that rampant road because I'll be on that soapbox all night. We back to hair,
Right.
back to hair.
And I do have some interesting information too that has to do with the sacred burial grounds. That has a lot to do with all of that. But yeah, back to the hair. Too though, in the Native American culture, yes, they are exempt from cutting their hair, except for when a death of a family member, like a mother or father or child, and that's when they ceremonially cut off some of their hair, not all of it, but I can't remember the measurements. It's like a specific measurement, but it's an important ritual rite in a death of a family member.
Mm-hmm. There is so much that is connected to things like our hair and our blood and our fingerprints and our body temperature and the color of your eyes. And they're hiding so much of this from us. And it drives me crazy because with the information technology that we have today out there with the internet, we should know a lot more about this. And for anybody who is on here who was born or, was somewhat of a young adult before 1995, do you realize we are going to be the last generation that knows what it was like before Google?
Yeah, it's
They
really
say
depressing.
that is why Gen X is so different. Gen X and the ones right before Gen X, because we're the last generations that will know the world before the internet took over. Yes, Crystal Gayle
Mhm.
had hair to her feet. She had beautiful hair, but I couldn't imagine toting all of that around. I hated to
Um,
imagine the headache she would get. My hair is probably three-fourths the way down my back right now, and it's a lot. It's up in a bun most of the time because, like, you put this stuff down and roll the window down, and you feel the air force like sucking me out of my truck. The hair is so much. So mine stays up in the bun. The picture on
Rage.
the screen is like 2 years old, and it was probably just beyond my shoulders when I took. Well, no, that's a year old because I took that almost exactly a year ago. But it's like gone from below my shoulders to almost to like the waist of my pants.
So Rage, you have no idea, but Crystal Gale was like, she was my goal. Okay, I needed that hair. I still want that hair. Every time I saw her, I used to pretend and put like the the hairdressing capes that you put over and put it in my hair to pretend I had Crystal Gale hair. I'm just saying thank you for bringing her up because I
Well,
love her
see,
hair.
I have to admit, I've wondered a time or two, like, how'd she go to the bathroom?
There are ways, people ask that of a lot of different things, and practice. There are ways.
You talking about people with long fingernails, Shannon?
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe not.
I
All
have
right,
no
let's see.
problems. I'll
I'm
just say
reading the
that in
comments.
anything.
I'm reading the comments here. Yes, I believe that most men should have a beard. Yes, I do, Wild Man. I think most men should have a beard. Um, I'm curious as to when men really started cutting their hair short, though, because if you go back to Roman times and look at the images we see of Caesar and all of them, they seem to have shorter hair. So
Mhm.
when did men start cutting their hair?
And
Hang on a second. I'll be right back.
I know it became an actual like Jewish law too to have short hair, but that they still keep those ringlets in the front. Um, because there is obviously something to having that hair. And as I mentioned, of course, the Samson and Delilah aspect, he truly believed his strength came from his hair. And when Delilah had taken it, he was drained of it until, again, like I mentioned, he realized that the power of God was within him when he still kept his faith and kept to God. And that's something too that, and trust me, if your hair is short and you're a man, or your hair is short and you're a woman, we're definitely not saying you are not a child of God and a powerful being in that right. But that being said, that there is something to the hair, that is something that has a heavenly aspect to it and connects you in that spiritual aspect to God and his kingdom. And so I do think there's something very special about the hair, and especially when it comes to, again, the female aspect and covering one's hair. I don't know, something just tells me that it's God's way of protecting us from feeling too much and taking too much in as we are more of an emotional being having to nurture and care for children and things along those lines. At least that's my theory.
I remember, well, I've always seen which I'm in the South. If anybody doesn't know it, I'm on the Southeast coast. I'm in South Carolina. Over here, a lot of the churches, especially the uh, churches that have, I don't know, church hats. Like you see a lot of ladies with church hats.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to ask my best friend's mom because I would go to church with them. I'm like, why are they all wearing hats? I mean, they had on like Kentucky Derby kind of hats. I thought it was just a dress up thing. And I remember her telling me something about that in the house of God we were supposed to cover our
To cover
head.
our hair. Because there's even a lot of faiths in the Christian denominations that women, when they come to work there, they still come in a dress or a skirt, and they still have their hair covered with some kind of a lace or a a shawl or a cover of some
Is
sort.
that why the Amish women cover their hair?
Yes, it all has to do biblically about women covering their hair. It's disrespectful to God in the house of God.
I just saw a comment it says so many young men are balding early. Um, I have a 30-year-old that was almost bald at 16. Now, my ex brother in law, he was the same way. He was almost bald at 16. But I have noticed, our generation, that the balding in men tends to be in those that wear a hat. But I don't think the like hat scrubbing on it has anything to do with it. I think it has to do with sunshine. Look at a man's hat or any hat, how it's built. Normally, the hats in the back are mesh, and like a trucker hat, they're mesh. There's some sunshine and air that gets in back there. But at the front is where you have the solid fabric with the decorative part on it. That's where most men bald that wear a hat, like dead in the front.
In the
So are you
front
going?
and the back, like where
Are
the
you are you going bald because you're not getting enough sunshine on your head?
this is something also that I'd like to bring up because I do know about this. It has been a lot of scientific study to find that this is where the genetics might play a part in it, but not in the way that most people think. But there is this specific mite that feeds off of a specific type of oil that you produce in your follicles, in your hair follicles. And people who have a richer oil factor in specific whatever this specific oil is that's produced, because you produce a mix of oils in your follicles for the health of your hair and all of that. But there's a mite that feeds off of this specific one, and some produce more than others. And there might have a part to play with that as well. And so I know that there's a product out there called Nioxin that specifically targets that particular issue. But on a whole, I feel like it's kind of a mix between, yes, lack of sun and hats being kind of a problem, but maybe that's also feeding into these mites that feed off of this particular oil that some produce more than others.
Well, see, when I was little, my grandma used to get on me because I had long hair as a child. I've always had long black hair, and she would get on me about brushing it. And which my grandma was old school, and she was all about brushing it 100 strokes, each time you done it, and you had to go all the way from the scalp to the end of the hair. And she told me that if you didn't, that your hair would get frizzy because that was what conditioned your hair was the oil off your scalp. And if you didn't brush
Exactly.
it, you wouldn't bring it down. So
Exactly.
now here I am, as old as I am, and I'm still trying to brush it out all the way to the top to the bottom, top to the bottom.
Yep, that's actually called scientific brushing, and it's one of the things they teach us in the very first. class that we take is how to scientific brush, and it's all about getting your natural oils all throughout your hair, because it's the best conditioner you could possibly have. Back in Victorian days too, they didn't wash their hair like we do with soaps and things. If there was any kind of product that was used to cleanse the hair, it was clay. But before that, it was just a series of brushing. You see those period piece movies where the women are sitting at the mirror forever, just brushing over and over.
Mhm.
They have their handmaiden brushing their hair over and over. That was a type of cleansing process, and
Mhm.
your hair actually gets extremely lovely and clean, but very soft and natural. I mean, women's hair could grow so much better back in the day than it can now. Let's
Layla
just put it
says,
that
"Can
way.
overwashing hair cause stress to
Yes,
the
it
hair?"
can. Yes, it can. It surely can. I don't care if it sounds gross or not, but I usually wash my hair once a week, and I brush my hair. I get all the oils throughout it because it's important, especially since I bleach my hair. you know, But I did also want to comment on the sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds that Layla Schmidt mentioned, because yes, seed oil will really help your hair to grow, and eating it internally as well as putting it on the scalp is super, super good for you. All right, we've kind of gone on a hair tangent. Not
I know
didn't
we
quite
got on.
mean
We
to.
you know us, girl. We get off on anything and everything. It's all kind of related, though.
How about
Um,
professional advice, guys? You're
Rage
welcome.
may have just dashed your Crystal Gale dreams. Rage, you broke her heart, man.
No, well, you know what? I knew she was probably one of them, but she still has beautiful hair, guys. I just wanted her hair. I didn't want to be her. I just wanted her hair. I have all of Kathy O'Brien's books, by the way. I've read them all.
Well, guys, we have kept y'all almost 2 hours tonight. We want to thank you so much for joining us for the chit chat and chatter and giggles and possibly some good information that we all got together. And like I said, I gave my email address out if anybody's got any different information, if you got links to studies on any of this stuff. Because where my brain stays at the majority of the time is the little man with a mustache, and why was he poking at us? And why are they hunting? Why are they not telling us about RH negative and where did it come from? And then we go into, and it seems like most of us were in the GATE program, especially a lot of us O's, whether you were positive
Yeah.
or negative, you were in the GATE program. So there's something to it. I mean, there's really something to it. I don't know if we'll ever put it together in this lifetime, but I'm going to do my best.
And Roxy, I'm so gonna send you a picture of my hands. So just be ready. I
I'm
want
gonna
one
try to
too.
find a flatbed scanner somewhere so I can scan mine and we can look at each other's hands. You know what? If we scan each other's hands and you put the printout on the wall, we could give each other high fives.
Oh my god, I freaking love it.
Just send you a text like I just high fived you.
I'm gonna do this now, right? This
Yes,
is happening.
absolutely. I'm gonna have a Shannon hand everywhere so I can high five you when we do a good job.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what Andy has to say about that one.
Who's that? It's my bestie's hand.
Yep.
That's the only way I can reach out and touch her.
It's awesome.
Lord, we're,
Okay.
we're silly at this time of night. It's still early. What time is it there, Shannon?
It
Seven,
is
six.
6:15.
Oh, good God! It's 9:15 here. I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning. This child of mine, she had to go into work early. I'm like, really, 3 o'clock? Because I had to swap houses. But
Yeah.
for the end of the week schedule, guys, this may be I may be on Saturday, Thursday night with Shannon,
Yeah.
but that's pretty much it for me for the rest of the week because I'm moving houses and it's going to be a really really busy next 7 to 10 days because I'm taking two houses, putting the majority of that in storage, and then taking everything else and taking it to the house and setting it up. And this house hasn't been lived in years, that we're moving into. Yeah, we got to have an $11,000 heat pump on it. Thank God I'm not. That's
Ooh,
not mine.
ooh.
But we hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. We had a ball. We love hanging out with you guys. You're our family, our community. And yes, Rage, may everyone have the day they deserve.
I love that so much.
You gonna be on Thursday night, Shannon?
Yes, I will be on Thursday night continuing our discussion on the subliminal and things on all along those lines. But hey, check out, I did put up a community post about the subject matter because I would like your input. If there is something that you know of in the world of they live type of rhetoric here of the
Mm-hmm.
subliminal, the way they're trying to manipulate the mind, and any of those ways, please go to that post, write it down, because I would love to bring up your topic on the show on Thursday. I, of course, have some great stuff that I want to show you. And please, thank you for your patience ahead of time with my technical struggles. But I will very much so try to have a lovely presentation of things to show you, because this is kind of one of those things. I don't always have presentations. We're usually conversational, but in this kind of case, it's kind of good to see with your eyeballs instead of me trying to describe it.
It
So,
is. We just have to be real careful, y'all, when we do presentations, because the wrong sound in the background, and the next thing you know, community violation.
right, it'll
But
probably
if
just be me talking over some pictures and pointing out stuff.
Well, my website is sliding across the bottom of the screen right there. If you missed my email address earlier, if you got a story, you got a testimony, send it. Me or Shannon one will address it. I'm not sure if Daniel's going to be on the air tomorrow, guys, because I know some of you watch Daniel's show too. He's dealing with some sickness in our family, and he's out of town, so he may skip tomorrow. If so, he'll probably be back Friday. I think. Shannon, you going? Well, we'll see how that goes on Friday with everybody's schedule. But Shannon will be on Thursday night
Right.
at what time? Your time?
6:30 p.m. my time, Pacific Standard
Pacific.
Time. So that would be
9:30
9:30.
Eastern.
Yeah. And in the middle for Mountain Time, that would be just what, an hour more for me. So maybe 7:30 Mountain Time. God,
Yeah.
gosh, I'm
And for
terrible
any
at
of
this.
our new viewers, please go subscribe. We have two channels, Shannon and I. Mine is the Roxy Files. Shannon is Children of the Most High. Please go subscribe to both of them. It counts. It counts a lot. Shannon and I aren't big enough yet that we're making diddly squat. This is pretty much just a hobby that's coming out of our pocket at our point for software at this point. But
Well, too, and just so you know, I mean, I'm kind of even below 100, and I know there's more of you guys watching on different
come
channels,
on now,
but
y'all got to go over there
I
to Shannon and subscribe.
there are literal things I cannot do, like create shorts or anything like that until I have a certain amount of subscribers. So I unfortunately cannot put a short out there for you until you guys start subscribing to my
All right,
channel.
guys, we need me and Shannon at 500 before Christmas. We can't spread this message and leave everybody else breadcrumbs if we don't get the word out. So share us. We love you and you love us. We're all love.
I just would like to be able to make more content for you, and I have to
Yeah,
be
we're
cool, I
we're very
guess.
limited on what we can and cannot do until we get the audience up. And yes, I know we've been with Daniel for a long time, but we bailed out on our own and we get to start at zero. Daniel's got hundreds of
Yeah.
thousands of viewers, and we had to start at zero. But we're getting there, and with the
Yeah.
help of our family of wonderful audience out here. And good night, governors. I see you over there. I see you, girl. You didn't get a hello, governor, tonight, did you?
I didn't you type that in the chat
Hello,
earlier? I think you
governor. Hello. I think I did when we come on. But
did.
anyway, guys, good night. We love you. Thank you for coming. Hit the like button on the way out, as Miss Carol says. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Carol. All of our awesome
Oh,
moderators.
thanks,
Thank you, all
Leila
of our
Schmidt.
viewers. You are all awesome, and we can't wait to see you again Thursday night.